Hey guys, it's Janelle. I'm one of your retail business coaches here with Canadian Retail Solutions, and I am also an independent retailer. Today we're going to talk about a topic that's really relevant to independent retailers. How do I know when it's time to reduce the offerings of a brand or increase them in my store? What do? We look at the facts. The reason we look at the facts is because when you're looking only at the facts, it takes away the feelings. The feelings, why do we need to take them away? Well, let's be honest, guys. When you're working with a brand, a lot of the time you've been working with them for years. You become really close friends with the rep. So it's hard to take that emotion away from it and simply decide, is this the best decision for my store? And not, hey, do I want to buy from my buddy? Okay, so what facts do we look at? The data that we look at is margin, so essentially the money you make from selling this item, or the brand or the line. And the second piece of information we look at is sell-through. So let's look at margin. Margin is calculated in a very easy way. Margin dollars is calculated by looking at revenue minus the cost of our inventory. So in this example, our inventory cost was $10. Our revenue after discount was $25. So our margin dollars at the bottom were 25, which is our revenue after discount, minus the inventory cost of $10, leaving us with 15 margin dollars. It's really important to look at these facts from a numerical standpoint as well as a percentage, and here's why. Well, we'll get into it in a sec. So our margin percent, to calculate margin as a percent, we take, again, our revenue minus our inventory cost, divide that again by our revenue, and multiply by 100 to get a percent. So in this case, again, our inventory cost is $10. Our revenue after discount is $25. So to get our margin percent, we take our $25 revenue after discount, subtract our inventory cost of $10, divide again by our revenue after discount of $25, and multiply that by 100, leaving us with a margin percent of 60%. So the other really important piece of data that I like to look at is sell-through. Sell-through is basically, it tells us the number of items brought in versus the number of items sold and the number of items we have left to sell. So we calculate sell-through by taking sales divided by receiving. So in this example, January 1st to 31st, we received 100 items from this brand. We sold 80 of them, meaning we have 20 remaining in store. So in this case, our sell-through is 80 items sold divided by 100 items received, or 80% sell-through. This is the fun part for me. This is showing you why it's important to look at sell-through from both a numerical standpoint as well as a percentage. So in this example, brand A, we sold 200 items, and brand B, we sold 20 items. Clearly, brand A is the winner because we sold so many more than we did in brand B. But when we look at receiving, it tells a different story. We received 1,000 units in brand A, and in brand B, we only received 25 items. So our sell-through, once we calculate it, is sales divided by receiving. So in brand A, we sold 200 out of 1,000 items that we received, leaving us with a sell-through of only 20%. Whereas in brand B, we only sold 20 units, but we only brought in 25 units, leaving us with a sell-through of 80%. So although we sold way more items from brand A, when you look at sell-through as a percent, brand B was actually the winner. So once you've calculated margin dollars, margin percent, as well as sell-through, in both a numerical and percentage standpoint, we rank them. We do this for all of the brands or styles or lines that we're comparing within our store, and we, pop them into Excel or write them onto a piece of paper, and we rank them 1 through however many we are looking at. And if you're finding that your brand is coming up on, or your style or your item or whatever it is that we're comparing, if it's coming up at the top of the comparison for both sell-through as well as margin, that's something that's probably a priority to keep in your store and or increase the offerings. However, if it's coming up at the bottom in both sell-through as well as margin, that's something that we need to reevaluate and perhaps reduce the offerings of those things in our store. Now, as an independent retailer, in addition to these important pieces of data, which are the facts and not the feelings, I like to look at a few other intangibles, okay? So how is the rep to work with? Do they get back to my emails really quickly, or are they always on vacation in Hawaii? I want to be on vacation in Hawaii, but instead I'm emailing them about their product in my store. So are they really great to work with? And if you find that they're not great to work with for whatever reason, by the way, you can contact the brand directly and ask to be a house account. So a house account is simply a retailer that works directly with the brand instead of working with the rep. So that might be a more successful strategy for you to get what you need from that brand. So in addition to how's the rep to work with, I also like to consider how's the brand? Do they deliver within their requested ship windows? How long does it take to get immediate goods? Like, can I get them in 3 days? Do they even have immediate goods? That's quite important to me as an independent retailer, as I have quick turn in my store. So I want to turn the goods as quickly as possible. That may or may not be as relevant for you, but for me, it's very important to have the availability to have quality immediate goods. In addition, quality. How is the product quality? Right? Is it something that it comes in and 20% of the brand I have to send back? And speaking of that, how are they for return authorizations? Is it a real pain to deal with them, or are they quite efficient with those? And another really important factor is, are they already saturated in my market? Because I don't want to be competing with a whole bunch of other retailers. So you guys, don't be afraid. Once you've done this analysis and looked at the data as well as these intangibles, don't be afraid to reduce or completely eliminate a brand that in the past has been a high performer and a signature brand for you. I've done this countless times. It's terrifying because you think that your store is built on these brands, but it's not. Your store is built on your brand. Okay? So don't be afraid if the data is telling you it's time to reduce your offerings. Don't be afraid to do so, even if it's one of your major brands. So how frequently do we do this analysis? Well, I recommend doing it seasonally before you're about to see the next season's collection. Analyze how things went last season, because you know what? I've had tons of brands that were awesome consistently until one season when things just changed and they took a nosedive. So be sure to analyze seasonally and reevaluate the brands within your store and see how they're performing. Guys, when you look at these data-based analyses as well as these intangibles, they are super helpful in determining if and when it's time to say farewell to a brand, or if it's time to amp up those offerings in your store. So with these tips, I'm hoping that that helped you to determine when it's time to say farewell and when it's time to increase your offerings of something in your store. As always, guys, happy retailing.